I am broadcasting live from Mexico City with all your pop culture news of the day, and the news starts now. Let's talk about Batman and Henry Cavill. Henry Cavill may be the new Batman. I absolutely love this idea, and so does James Gunn. Let's get right into this article and see if we can't get my producer Nat, who's sitting off camera, to chime in with her 2 cents as well.
Hello. From Fortress, James Gunn wants Henry Cavill in the DCU, but only one role really fits. And once again, take this with a giant grain of salt. And it's a rumor.
Oh yeah, this is a rumor, but the rumor is starting to have a snowball effect. And if you have watched the show for any length of time, you'll know I was extremely disappointed when they didn't cast Henry as in the new Superman. I thought that he had taken quite a while to ramp up fan support, but I thought right now with the cultural space that we're in was the perfect time for him, especially to play a superhero. I couldn't understand why they were replacing him, but now maybe they had bigger plans for him all along. Let's read a little bit about this.
James Gunn has expressed interest in bringing Henry Cavill back to the DC universe, but many believe there's only one role that truly fits the former Superman star. Although he was once one of the best, if not the best, version of Superman, Henry Cavill could pass as Bruce Wayne and Batman and fill out the role in James Gunn's DCU quite nicely. Before rabid Batman fans, especially Ben Affleck fans, get mad, they should look at some of the images of Man of Steel actor in the Batsuit. They look amazing and prove that he could also wear the cowl and cape in an Elseworld Superman speeding bullets film if one were ever made. While many fans were rooting for Alan Richardson or Jensen Ackles to play the role, Cavill could be a great option, especially since Gunn is open to the idea of the actor returning as a different character in the DCU.
Well, I think James Gunn got a lot of backlash on Superman by not casting him, and maybe that's kind of pushing him around here. If that's the case, I'm glad to hear the fans are speaking up. I do want to see him in this role. If they bring him with a love interest of Gina Carano, that would be perfect. Him and Gina Carano actually dated in real life. They're both at the perfect time in their career in the right cultural space. They kind of stood up in the era of censorship, and I think fans would really rally around them right now. Casting him with Gina Carano as the love interest, I think would be phenomenal for Batman. Batman, I think, is almost a better character for him because it's a more humanizing character. It has a much more emotional arc to the character, as well as he's much more vulnerable. He can actually be defeated by a villain. So you have more vulnerability with the Batman character than Superman. I would love to see him as Batman. Why don't we finish up the article and then we'll go into what else is going on with Batman in theaters right now?
During a recent appearance on the Happy Sad Confused podcast, the Superman 2025 director explained that his deal with DC Studios actually closed on the same day that Henry Cavill announced that he would reprise his role as the Man of Steel.
And one moment, if you hear a bunch of squeaking, it is my dog Girl off camera. That's right, her name is Girl, my name is Guy. She's a little French bulldog. She's just chewing the heck out of her toy right now. Okay. Yeah, he thought he was going to be in the new Superman. He actually said he was, and then they pulled the rug out from under him. And I think there was a lot of backlash for the new Superman. Like, that's kind of what started with me when he said he was going to play it, and then they said he wasn't, and they pulled the rug out from under him. I like Henry. I wanted to see him as Superman. And when James Gunn did that, it kind of sent me against the movie just a little bit. But maybe there was bigger ideas all along, or maybe the fans really stood up and let their voice be heard, and that's why they want to cast him as Batman now. Okay, let's continue.
But the confusion around the announcement was not as simple as the headlines made it seem. A new Superman movie with a new actor was already locked on paper, which threw Gunn and Cavill into a tough spot. The day our DC deal closed, all of a sudden they were announcing that Henry was back. Gunn said, and I'm like, what's going on? We know what the plan is. The plan was to come and do Superman, so it was really unfair to him and a total bummer.
Okay, and we have to remember that the Superman, it was really shot during the last era of what was going on with all this woke culture in Hollywood, and maybe they were a bit scared to put Henry in this movie because he had he was ahead of the cultural shift there. Now that the cultural shift has happened, to put him in Batman gives them a chance to rewrite their wrong of not casting him for this Superman role. As far as Batman goes, it looks like they're trying to keep it relevant with I believe it's the 25th anniversary of Tim Burton's Batman, and it's going to be in theaters with new audio, Dolby surround sound, I believe.
And before we continue, Rafa says, hello, good morning. So good morning, Rafa.
Good to see you, Rafa.
Also, if anybody else is here, we can always read the chat, so you can always tell us what you think about each of these stories.
Yeah, I'd like to hear what people think about Henry Cavill as Batman, and what they think about them taking the Superman role from him when he thought he was going to have that role. And do you think the cultural shift really suits Henry Cavill? I think now is the time for him to really emerge into a DC or Marvel universe.
I think the main thing is people are going to correct you on how to say Cavill.
Okay, let's get into this next Tim Burton's Batman.
From Variety, Tim Burton's Batman films swoop back to theaters in Dolby Cinema. Tim Burton's iconic Batman from 1989 and Batman Returns from 1992 are getting the premium treatment, returning to theaters for a one-night engagement on August 25th, exclusively at Dolby Cinema locations.
Yeah, and I like this idea. They need to keep this relevant, and people from my era are a little bit older now. They have kids. They're going to take their kids to go see this. This is what exposed me to Batman. At the time, this was a very dark movie. When you look back on it now, it's very comic book-like compared to where Batman has gone. So if I had a kid right now, I would definitely be taking them to theater to go see this and share that experience. I also think they should be leaning into retro toys and the retro idea of Batman until the new movie comes out. Obviously, they're just talking about casting right now with Henry for the new Batman. So it's going to be a couple of years until that movie is done and out in theaters. So bringing retro Batman back, I think, is a great idea. Him and Superman are the two main characters for DC. And with Superman having an okay run in theaters, it didn't do fantastic, but it didn't bomb, which is good. But they really needed to put their stamp on comic book movies and things like that. DC did. And so Batman is going to be probably even more important than Superman because Superman wasn't a mega hit. They need a mega hit. Hopefully Henry Cavill can bring it to Batman. And I can't wait to watch the new Batman, but I'm glad to see that they are bringing these older Batmans back to cinemas. Let's read a little bit about it.
The remastered versions will play at over 160 Dolby Cinema at AMC theater locations across the US, so this is only in the US. This marks the first time both films will be presented in Dolby Vision and Dolby Atmos.
Yeah, and this was in 1989, so how many years is that? 1989, 1999, 2019, that makes 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, yep, 25, 26 years.
But I think also theaters and studios are realizing that when they re-release these kinds of old movies that everybody liked, they do get a large audience, even more so sometimes than the new things that are coming out. So it's an interesting strategy, and the playing into the nostalgia of things, I think, serves everybody right.
Yeah, I think like nostalgic toys, nostalgic shirts, things like this actually sell better than these new toys. There is a ton of YouTube series about used nostalgic toys being sold. The market is hot. It's hot right now. It's been hot for quite a few years, but we see the selling of new toys. These kinds of things just sit on the shelf. Then they go to these discount stores, and then they're bought up in bulk by used toy stores, and they just don't sell. It's nostalgic toys that are selling.
And also, I mean, Fantastic Four tried to do that with this new movie they released, but because they're leaning into it and making it like, oh, look, we're going retro. We are in the 50s, 60s, etc., 70s, whatever time they're supposed to be in. But it doesn't work because it's manufactured by the production company. I think it's more people's demand of what they remember, not what you're making them feel like is quote unquote nostalgic.
Yeah, and actually having nostalgic material that's 25 years old, and Batman goes way back before Tim Burton's Batman. It's actually real nostalgia, not manufactured nostalgia, like some new Fantastic Four movie we're going to make look old. I actually don't mind that concept, but having actual IP that is from 20, 30, 40 years ago really sells authenticity.
They already tried that whole, like, let's go back in the past with X-Men, Days of Future Past, and whatever the other one was called. But now, I mean, the DCU is also bringing I believe it's 2027 Batman, and they're bringing back Robert Pattinson for that. But maybe what they were alluding to in this new Superman movie, that Batman might look different, is that they're just going to make him look more like Batman. I don't know.
Yeah.
I've never been a fan of Batman. I was a fan of the Joker just because of Heath Ledger, but...
Oh, I didn't mind Batman, especially when it went in with Heath Ledger and the counterpart to Heath Ledger. Oh, who was that from American Psycho again? Christian Bale.
There you go.
So yeah, I loved the Christian Bale series of movies. That was absolutely fantastic. They're still my favorite Batmans, especially Bane and Joker. That was absolutely phenomenal. And with who's the gentleman playing Batman right now? You said
Robert Pattinson.
Yeah, Robin Pattinson. If they put Henry Cavill in after Robert Pattinson, it's going to be the end of Twinks. So these feminist men that are playing these superheroes, I'm not on board with. So I would really like to see Henry replace him as Batman.
The non-toxic masculinity they're bringing in now.
Yeah. Okay, that being said, let's go into Spotify and some censorship that's going on in the UK. Now, we've talked a lot about this censorship law in the UK, but now they're going a little bit above and beyond. And we got a couple articles today. They're trying to censor music. So let's talk about this.
So from Unilad Tech, Spotify users risk losing their accounts if they fail controversial new tests. This is over in the UK. The music streaming service faces backlash over strict age checks. Spotify users could soon find themselves booted from the platform if they don't pass a new age verification process that sparked a fair bit of controversy, to say the least.
Yeah, so you're having to have a digital ID in your phone, or you're having to scan your face or give some other kind of identification to log into a lot of these UK sites. This was supposed to be for adult material, so kids wouldn't get into it. And by adult material, I mean nudity and stuff like that. That's what they kind of sold it as. And anybody that knew politics knew that's not what it was. There were a lot of keywords like misogyny, like harmful content. So we knew they were going to broaden this thing out. I just didn't realize how quick they were going to broaden it out. There was a time and a place, even in the United States, they were trying to censor music by saying it's the devil's music. Are we in a new era, but much of the same here? This isn't imagery. This is music. And the fact that they're trying to censor music is absolutely ridiculous in the UK. People need to start standing up. I know Donald Trump just got the tariff deal over in the UK, and this was an issue for him, but because of that deal, I think he remained a little bit silent recently. I hope he stands up and puts the UK in their place in some kind of quick fashion here.
Well, I don't think they're trying to censor music. They're trying to censor everything on the internet. That is the problem. A lot of these websites and social media companies or media companies are having to, listen to the UK government and instill these age verifications if they want to stay within the UK. The problem is already the age verification is failing, and a lot of people that are over 18 either look very young or the stupid system doesn't recognize them, or it's teenagers and children that are able to mimic IDs of older people and then just get into the service that way. There's even like specialized websites where they do that.
Yeah, and let's talk about the real underbelly of this. This is about data collection. And if the United States thinks they're clear because they have a constitution that protects their free speech, I'd have a word of caution. Have been and probably will be for a while still a Trump supporter, a JD Vance supporter. That being said, Vance's connections to Palantir are absolutely scary, and these things are starting to emerge. I didn't know a lot of this, but we're going through this golden age, especially in the United States, of free speech. The problem is Palantir is coming with this digital cage that, they're building first, and then maybe all of a sudden it will appear. So I would be very cautious of Palantir's movements around data collection, free speech, the internet, YouTube, things like this. And I think the EU, Canada could be a firm warning for people in the United States of what could happen. So hold these politicians' feet to the fire that you don't want censorship, you don't want digital ID, you don't want your data to be bought and sold like a commodity.
And here in Mexico where we live, they're just announced that they're installing pretty much the same thing with a biometric digital ID that is going to be forced upon the population as well. And I mean, yes, the government already has a lot of that information, but the fact that they've now set up a lot of new legislation to be able to use that information, including location tracking, to, do whatever they want, or if you don't behave the way they want you to, that's what's scary.
Well, and you have to realize all these tools and techniques are very new, especially to Palantir. So they need to really master this digital tracking, this digital surveillance, and things like this. They want to say it's for not the U.S. public, but how are they going to perfect these tools? They have access to the data of the U.S. public, so the U.S. public is going to be the first ones to really feel it. They can perfect the tools and then use it on a more global basis. At least that's what I believe, and this is why I'm trying to give the warning horn about Palantir specifically.
The music streaming app, which has almost 700 million users globally, has warned that anyone failing to verify their age could see their account permanently deleted within 90 days. The move is part of a wider effort to block underage teenagers and children from accessing explicit tracks and adult-rated music videos on the platform. So no more Cardi B for anyone.
This is crazy. I mean, yeah, they're saying it's not to censor music, but I mean, now you've just brought it out from extreme adult content that, well, we have to monitor what kids are listening to. Then in a minute, we're going to get into, we have to monitor what kids are actually reading. After the Spider-Man article, let's put a pin in this article and we'll come back to these censorship laws, but let's go into Spider-Man really quick.
From Variety, Spider-Man Brand New Day teases Tom Holland's new costume. Something brand new is coming.
And Spider-Man is so digitalized because of the acrobatics and a lot of the things he has to do in the movie. The suit itself is probably the least authentic of most of the super suits other than the Silver Surfer. But let's go into this.
But it's iconic because I believe it's following the timeline. I haven't kept up with Spider-Man, but I do love Tom Holland on the role. But it's now getting more and more technological because of the connections with Iron Man, who has now passed away, supposedly.
Okay,
Tom
let's read a little
Holland's
bit
new
about
Spider-Man suit received the briefest of teasers in a short video for Marvel and Sony's upcoming Spider-Man Brand New Day. A 9-second video shows a close-up of Holland's Spidey suit with the caption, "Something brand new is coming."
Okay, so I haven't actually seen this, and I didn't know they were going to have it. So let's play it live right here and see what the suit looks like.
Okay, if this is too loud, sorry.
Okay. Oh, don't tell me it's extreme close-up. I want to see the whole thing.
That's it.
That was it?
Well, that's how they do teasers.
Oh my God. That shows me nothing. I can't even give an opinion based upon that clip. I like the old suit, so if they want to try to revitalize it or make it something new, I hope they did a good job.
It was posted on August 1st, which happens to be National Spider-Man Day. At the end of Spider-Man No Way Home, there's a quick shot of Holland swinging through New York City in a new suit that resembles the classic bright red and blue costume from the comics. At first glance, the Brand New Day teaser seems like it's similar to that costume with its sharper colors and raised black edges. There's also a faint black spider webbing design that is a nod to the original Marvel comics.
I had to take my dog's toy away from her. It was getting a little bit too loud there.
It's fine.
Okay, let's continue here.
That's it.
Now she's upset. Okay, let's continue.
Oh, I'm sorry. That's it.
Oh, that was it. Okay, let's go back into, and they had a lot of problems with this Spider-Man movie. They're talking about how they're shooting a lot of practical effects, this and that. The majority of this thing was shot during a lot of it was shot during the Jibby Jab era or lockdowns. So a lot of it was done in studio, and now they're trying to promote like it's a lot of special effects. I actually expect this to be primarily VFX. Let's go into more censorship in the UK with that new law of theirs. Skip that and go to the next one. And we'll come back.
From 404 Media, UK users need to post selfie or photo ID to view Reddit's r/something about Israel, r/Ukraine war footage.
Okay, so yeah, now they're wanting to censor Reddit as well. We just seen how this was supposed to be for very hardcore adult sites. At least that's what it was sold to the public as. Anybody that actually read the law knew this was going to be mass censorship, not just in the UK, but the EU is emulating a lot of these laws. Canada is talking about emulating similar laws. They want to censor what's being read on Reddit. They want to get all your data collection. They want to censor what you're watching on Spotify. This is getting a little bit crazy. And yeah, it's starting with kids now. This is going to expand into adults.
Do I keep going?
Yeah, let's read some.
If visibility of our those sites is being restricted under the online, see now you did this, under the Online Safety Act, it's only because the state fears accountability. Moderators say, I can't read it.
Okay, so we get an idea now that they're going into music sites, sites that are just read. Oh, she almost knocked over the light there. Look at that. Just give her a toy back. Okay, and then we'll go right into the next article here, and that was going to be the James Bond article that I just skipped. So
I'll put the article on while I try to get her toy back. Hold on. From Deadline, next James Bond pick at Amazon MGM Studios to be penned by Stephen Knight.
Yeah, and this could be good. There was a lot of rumors about when they bought this James Bond, they had a ton of IP written for this thing that was extremely woke at Amazon. Luckily, they didn't own all the rights, and then they had to go back in and pay an additional, I believe it was $1 billion for the rest of the IP so they could start releasing this. That being said, the culture changed in that time, which could really save Amazon because they would have absolutely killed this IP, much like Disney killed Star Wars, how they starting to kill the Marvel universe. 007 could have been dead on arrival if they would have had all the IP rights and just started releasing this woke garbage. It looks like they're trying to do the right thing and they're bringing in the right writer for this one. Let's read a little bit about it.
After setting Denis Villeneuve to direct the new James Bond movie, Amazon MGM Studios has a writer in its sight to pen the next installment of the 007 franchise. Sources tell Deadline that Peaky Blinders creator Stephen Knight is set to write the movie.
Yeah, and Peaky Blinders was great, not just cinematically, but the twists and turns that plot had was good. So to keep the audience always guessing and not just have the traditional story arc is extremely important. Marvel went into making cookie cutter movies and you basically know what's coming next, especially something like 007, a spy thriller, really needs to lean into the thriller aspect. Okay, let's read a little bit more here.
Okay, hold on. The ads are just annoying. Since landing the full creative control of the franchise this year, Amazon MGM has been thorough in its search for the behind-the-scenes talent that will be overseeing the development of this next movie in the series. Pascal and Heyman were the first to be brought on. After a meeting with a number of directors, the studio tapped Villeneuve to direct.
Yeah, and this is probably going to be the most important movie they make. So I don't even mind if they lose money on this movie. This sits up the universe and the IP. Amazon has big ideas for this IP. If they want this to be successful, they need this movie to be successful. Getting a good director, getting a good writer is step one. Now they need to actually make a good film that kind of sits up the entire universe. They also need to find the proper 007. I would say Tom Hardy would be a perfect fit. I also like Idris Elba. Both those actors are starting to age out, but they could still do the role. That being said, I think they want to go for somebody younger because they're having a long-term vision of 007 right now. There are no good young actors that I could see even fitting this role right now. Mm-hmm. Okay, let's go into...
and Rafa says, thank you. I didn't know about that teaser. That sucks about Spider-Man.
Oh, yeah. The teaser for Spider-Man was absolutely horrible. That's not even a teaser. That's just something that's going to piss the fans off.
But it does create a lot of hype. But I will say that that's one of the last remaining superhero franchises, I think, that have done things correctly-ish.
Well... actually, I had a note with that. Oh yeah, the reason they had done things right is because it was Sony Marvel, not Disney Marvel. Mm-hmm. And that's the only reason. Sony actually saved Spider-Man from IP death of Disney Marvel universe.
And Rafa also says, an unfortunate trend in companies, I decided to abandon my Mercado Libre account because they started asking for forceful Face ID. I'm trying to find a way to fake another face. And yes, any service that asks me, and that's getting very common in Mexico, which is annoying. Anything that asks me for my face or for like more than just name and phone number, I don't really trust.
And the amount of stories of digital tracking, digital ID on all websites, and then selling that data, the medical industry as well. Tonight, we're going to have a big story on Nat and the guy on our evening show. That's going to talk about the medical industry in the United States and how they're trying to completely digitalize that. Yes, it's easy to sell that as a good thing, but the complete digitalization, people don't realize the digital prison they're currently building up around a lot of these Western countries. And in the beginning, they're going to dangle the carrot. Oh, it's all good. It's going to help you. And yeah, it is. It's going to make life easier. And then they're going to pull the rug out from under you and you're going to wish this had never happened.
Yes, you have to decide if convenience is more important to you or privacy and yourself is more important to you.
I'm so tech illiterate that very often I go for convenience.
Fortunately, you have me. But with like Mercado Libre, that's the worst thing because it's like eBay-ish platform or like Facebook Marketplace here in Mexico, but also Amazon. And the fact that, yes, it makes sense that if you're going to be buying or selling something they want, but again, they make it seem that way where it makes sense. So people kind of accept it and then it goes further and further away. And then there's a whole issue as well with hackers or your information being sold online, etc. So,
yeah. Okay. We have quite a bit of censorship stories on tonight's episode. Okay, let's go into Shannon Sharp now.
From The Guardian, Shannon Sharp reportedly out at ESPN after settlement of disgusting assault suit. Sharp will not return to ESPN per multiple reports. Departure follows settlement in SA suit. Hall of Fame tight end last appeared on air in April.
So he was fired from ESPN for these allegations, and he stood up strong against these allegations and said these were completely false. He wasn't going to make a payout. He was going to fight this, and he was going to have a counter lawsuit. It looks like none of that was true. He made the payout, and he wanted all this stuff to disappear, and he's lost his job for it. That being said, he is really good in the independent space, especially amongst the black community. A lot of black athletes, black rappers have major scandals around them, and they are able to survive. Shannon Sharp is good in that alternative space, and the black community is strongly behind him. So I think he's going to do not just okay, but very good for himself going forward. It's a damn shame he didn't stand up against this a little bit harder, and he just let himself get kind of Me Too'd and rolled over.
Do you want me to read it?
Yeah, let's read a little bit. And this was a story that we had been reporting on, so I wanted to give the final conclusion of what kind of happened here.
Shannon Sharp will not return to ESPN, ending the Pro Football Hall of Famer's brief but high-profile run as a commentator on the network's First Take Sports Talk program. The decision comes less than 2 weeks after Sharp settled the lawsuit by a former girlfriend who accused him of disgusting things, allegations he forcefully denied. The Athletic was the first to report the move on Wednesday, citing sources familiar with the matter. ESPN declined to comment publicly, and no formal announcement has been made. Sharp, 57, had not appeared on ESPN since late April, shortly after the suit was filed in Nevada. At the time, he called the accusations false and disruptive and said he expected to return in time for the start of NFL training camps. Instead, ESPN quietly opted to move on.
Yeah, and what I would like to see happen here, he's got a big show that's in the I would say the cultural space. Oh God, I can't remember the name of the show. That being said, he is already big in the cultural space. He has a big name from an NFL career. He has a huge loyal fan base. The NFL has now fired him. I would make a sports show or a sports channel on YouTube and get his current audience that is currently watching him to come over to his NFL show or his sports show, and it will be absolutely huge. He's actually more right for a sports show on YouTube than he would be for his cultural show. So the fact that his cultural show was able to succeed in the way that it did, if he goes into sports on YouTube, he will dominate that space as an independent, and then he'll be able to go back to ESPN and make major demands when it comes to his contract. Okay, let's go into Netflix, and this is somewhat related. And we've been having a ton of stories lately about the BBC and a lot of other mainstream media outlets having misconduct, court cases coming up against them.
And it is interesting because now, especially in the US, a lot of these discrimination suits, I haven't read into it. I don't know what this one's about, but a lot of the discrimination suits are actually being brought on by white people claiming they were discriminated against during the past,
Yeah,
6,
but I
7
also
years.
want to say this. We're coming out of this progressive era where it was massive DEI hiring. And now there's a lot of cutbacks being made because the economy is kind of shrinking. Companies are downsizing. AI is coming in. So a lot of these DEI hires are losing their jobs, not necessarily because they're doing a bad job, but the company is downsizing. They have an axe to grind here. And that progressive mentality is always quick to file a lawsuit. So
this story could go either way.
yeah. Well, I haven't read into the story. You haven't read into the story. So let's read into it together.
From Deadline, Netflix's corporate culture under the microscope again in latest misconduct and discrimination suits. Recently,
We reported yesterday, on Wednesday, the BBC had recently settled over 300 individual lawsuits of employees going after them. So
a recently amended discrimination, harassment, and retaliation lawsuit from Netflix's former director of kids and family acquisitions and co-commissions against the streamer has put the company's hardcore, adapt or perish culture unflatteringly in the spotlight yet again. On the heels of Netflix's ex-labor relations executive Nui Funds legal action over allegedly being kicked to the curb for reporting on misconduct by higher-ups, Amy Takahara today refiled her own action against the streamer and Edward Horazes, the current director, Kids and Tween Live Action and Content Licensing. Naming names, both suits reveal the not-so-secret inner workings of Netflix as a sharp-elbowed and credit-jockeying workplace where only the strong survive by any means necessary, as it should be in any company.
That seems reasonable to me. And there was a lot of words there. Just the last sentence kind of mattered, and that's what kind of stuck out to me. It's a sharp, hardworking environment where only the strong are going to survive. That's how a corporation should operate. Okay, let's continue to go here.
Yes. In this amended complaint and the original filing of May 5th, Takahara insists she was fired on January 13 after 7 years at a company run by Ted Sarandos and Greg Peters for confronting Horazes directly over his behavior. In sum, Ms. Takahara's repeated complaints unfortunately fell on deaf ears. Her 33-page filing in Los Angeles Superior Court states, also battling funds discrimination and disgusting harassment suit in LASC, Netflix's reps weren't warm and fuzzy Thursday when contacted by Deadline over Takahara's amended complaint. Ms. Takahara's position...
That's pretty good. Okay.
Well, because they go on to explain what actually happened. So Ms. Takahara's position was eliminated after the team was downsized, the spokesperson said.
So, yeah, this is absolutely insane. And these countries are, man, even in Mexico here, there's a lot of feminist laws coming into effect. And I would expect similar lawsuits to come into effect. This really hamstrings the creative ability and the ability for companies to pivot when the economy gets hard. So,
hold on, because the next bit is kind of interesting as well, because it goes further into it. Just because it's okay. It goes on to show where this lawsuit is coming from. Perhaps the new filing includes more details of Horace's claim, credit for geek girl advocate Takahara's ideas, work and pitches, attacking her mental health, and telling her she couldn't handle the male-based shows and should stick to female-based relationship shows. The industry vet's depiction of oppressive, hostile, and misogynistic environment offers a litany of examples that Netflix is going to have to counter, and a paper trail too, with more supposed quotes from Horace of a lesbian agenda at work, witches with titties, mocking of pregnant staffers, and complaining that he needed to hire other men to up-level his team, ex-Nickelodeon director said.
Yeah, and this is crazy. They're going to need to get these lawsuits in fast and furious because the culture is shifting. Lawsuits like this will stand up in states like California, New York, and Washington, D.C. So if you do have a case like this, I guess bring it up in one of those states, and hopefully you have a sympathetic jury, because the rest of the United States is really kind of, the culture is moving away from lawsuits, and there will be a backlash against a lot of lawsuits like this.
But there are a lot of lawsuits coming from people that were also discriminated against and not hired or not promoted. There's a bunch of policemen.
Okay, let's go into the next article here.
Stop tapping on your little table.
Let's go to the next article here.
From Variety, Nielsen's new technology ties commercials to consumer decisions.
Yeah, and this isn't necessarily censorship, but this shows the tracking of data and everything that we're doing, whether it's to sell you things or to like put this new digital cage around the general public. Let's read a little bit about their marketing strategy here.
Nielsen has long been known for counting the number of people who watch TV shows and the commercials that accompany them. Now it hopes to be recognized for helping advertisers determine whether their spots actually spurred a consumer to make a purchase or similar decision tied to sales. The measurement giant said on Thursday that it would launch technology to help marketers and media buyers understand whether a commercial spurred a specific outcome, such as requesting more information about a product, visiting showroom or car dealership, or actually making a purchase.
Yeah, and a lot of the censorship and data management and how they're tracking people actually started with marketing. And a lot of the cutting edge technology is first brought into marketing to really work out all the bugs and kinks. So I'd really pay attention what's going into these marketing agencies, how they're gathering your data. Because you're going to see Palantir really pick up on a lot of these algorithms and things of this nature. Okay, let's go into Jeremy Renner. And this, I'm glad to see that he's back. I'm not necessarily psyched about this role, but, you know, just to have him back, even if it's in a crappy role, is good to see.
From The Hollywood Reporter, Jeremy Renner teases his MCU return. I'm sure we'll end up doing season 2 of Hawkeye, which is not a good idea. My body's getting ready for something like that, the Oscar nominee said of the physical demands that come with portraying Clint Barton Hawkeye.
Well, and we have to remember, the reason I'm saying it's good to have him back, and he was in a major accident. Was it with the snowblower?
Something happened. Yeah,
his
he got
leg
crushed.
was almost freaking crushed, and I'm surprised he's even back, especially in a physical role of this nature. I did not expect him to come back in a physical role like this to start out with, but good for him. Let's read a little bit about it and see if it talks about his injury at all.
Well, this is a maybe, and I also know he got into a dispute with Disney and Marvel executives over pay because they wanted to pay him the exact same thing, and he had said no, especially after they were having to make him get physically ready after a giant accident.
Well, yeah, he was complaining that they were paying him absolute peanuts and he wouldn't do this role again. That being said, after his accident, I think it's good just to take any role and get back in the swing of things and to show that he's back at 100%, even if he isn't. When you do a role like this and this amount of physicality, it really says to the whole industry that I am back.
But other than that, I mean, he's also getting older.
Yeah.
Jeremy Renner is preparing for his return to the MCU. In an interview with Empire magazine published Tuesday, the Hawkeye star admitted that he's sure we'll end up doing season 2. That didn't do very well, the first one, of the Disney Plus series that spotlighted his longtime character Clint Barton and Hawkeye. His comments about returning to the MCU come after he previously revealed he turned down another season of Hawkeye for being offered half of his salary for a second season.
And I will say this. Yeah, I'm not a big fan of this series, but I think part 2, season 2, what he's going into now, will get much better ratings because of what happened to him. He has made the transition in this new cultural shift that has occurred within the general public.
But also with that series, like they completely, number one, emasculated him, and number two, made him like a second fiddle and a mentor figure for the new female version of Hawkeye they wanted to bring up that didn't work, and they tried it as well with Ant-Man.
Well, that being said, Hollywood's starting to get the hint you need to stop feminizing these masculine characters, and I think hopefully in season 2 they remasculinize him, number one, and people will tune in for his return. So as long as it's not complete crap, they will stick with it, I think, for the season just to show support for Jeremy Renner.
And he said, I'm always happy to be in that world, man. I love those guys. I love the character. He said of portraying Clint Hawkeye in the superhero film franchise. I'm sure we'll end up doing season 2 and do other things, and I'm happy to do it. And also with all the new like reimagining of the Avengers or bringing back the Avengers, I mean, he might fit in there as well.
Okay, let's go into the last 3 articles, and one's going to be on the tariffs of Canada, the tariffs in Mexico, and Nintendo and Japan.
I only have 2.
Oh, that's fine. The last article is actually 2.
Okay. From the AP, Japanese game maker Nintendo reports robust profits on strong Switch 2 sales.
Yeah, and this is a little bit disappointing. Not that I don't like Nintendo, but you can see censorship really does mean a lot to me. I don't like to see all these censorship laws and all these algorithms tracking people, these digital IDs, you having to use your face to log into websites such as the UK is doing now. I moved from Canada to Mexico because this is so close to my heart. This Nintendo Switch has censorship built into this thing. If you download any games, they will brick your system. And there was just a lot of controversy about Nintendo and this new Switch and a lot of the built-in security features, the way they were selling games, the way their online features worked. So this is somewhat of a censorship, I would say, system. That being said, it is sold for kids. So I think censorship with kids is a little bit more acceptable to the general public. But there was a lot of media around the negative aspects of the system before it came out, but it is doing extremely well, it looks like.
And I do understand wanting to protect your IP and protect the thing that your company and yourself has worked so long for, but once it veers into the territory of censorship, also.
Yeah, and this is why Nintendo is going to have a real tough time transitioning more into an adult market from a kid market if they ever want to go into that adult market. They can get a portion of the adult market, but they're not going to do extremely well because of the amount of built-in censorship on their devices.
Nintendo, the Japanese video game maker behind the Super Mario and Pokemon franchises, reported an 18.6% surge in net profit for the first fiscal quarter Friday on the back of strong demand for its new Switch 2 console. Kyoto-based Nintendo company's April-June profit totaled 96.03 billion yen, or $640 million, up from nearly 81 billion yen. Quarterly sales more than doubled to 572.36 billion yen.
Okay, that's pretty good.
Etc.
Okay, and Japan did settle their tariff with a 15% general tariff, so I'm expecting the systems to maybe go up 10%. They'll probably eat 5% of the cost, but when it comes to especially tech, there's such a small profit margin that very often the consumer is going to have to eat some of this cost. A lot of with these cheap Chinese goods that are being manufactured, it's a 30 and 40% profit margin, so there is no price increase. That's why we've not seen a major price increase on a lot of Amazon goods that are made cheaply in China. That being said, all the camera manufacturers do come out of Japan, except DJI. DJI is rumored to come out with a new full frame camera. That being said, a lot of people that are going to buy cameras in the future may just buy a plane ticket to Japan and buy the camera there. It's like a free vacation to Japan if you can avoid that 15% tariff. Okay, let's go.
And DJI is China, right?
DJI is China, yeah, and they make good GoPro style cameras, much better GoPro style cameras than GoPro themselves. They have the best drones on the market by far. There's nothing in the US, even in a military grade drone, that can even compete with DJI. That's why these are used on the battlefield of Ukraine so often. Even the Ukrainians are using Chinese DJI consumer market drones, and they're just altering them a little bit.
Yeah, that's why I don't like when we have to seem forced to use DJI.
I like DJI just because it works so good and it's so seamless. She really hates Chinese manufactured products. I'm a little bit more forgiving on them, but okay, let's go into the Trump tariffs, and we have Canada and Mexico, and I just wanted to kind of give updates on this. As you can see behind me, if we go to my main shot there, she's quick on the cameras there. I have Canada, Mexico, and two United States flags. So I really hope to talk to those three markets mainly when I am talking, but hopefully I get a lot of global appeal as well. But these are big tariff deals. Let's go into this article a little bit. Before we do, let's talk about Canada. Canada was offered the best deal of any country at the beginning of this thing. They were offered 0% tariffs. It was the only country that was offered 0% tariffs, and they decided to F around and find out. Why? Canada's entire economy for decades upon decades now has been based around tariffing the United States. A lot of people don't know this. They have 200, 300, even 350% tariffs on a lot of American goods. A 25% tariff on an American good is extremely low for Canada. That being said, because their whole economy is based around tariffing the United States, when the United States offered them a 0% tariff. They just had to take down all their tariffs in return. They decided to reject it because their entire economy is actually based upon tariffing the United States, and they thought their economy would collapse. They're finding out now they should have taken that deal because now they have a 35% tariff. Let's go into this. And they've been saying nothing but negative things about Trump, the American administration, and trying to do hard-nosed negotiations. And Trump doesn't like it. Mexico, on the other hand, has got a 90-day extension. And when Trump gave this 90-day extension to Mexico, he was very forgiving with everything. He said about the Mexico 90-day extension that the Mexico tariff agreement is a lot more complex than any other country because of the way the trade goes back and forth, because of immigration, and because of organized crime. And I said organized crime in Mexico was going to be a big sticking point. Trump wants to bring the military in here and work with the Mexican military to fight against that. So there is a lot of underpinnings to the U.S.-Mexico tariff deal that's going to take a little bit longer to negotiate. So it was good to see a 90-day extension there. Let's read about a little bit about this now.
Trump imposes, from the New York Times, Trump imposes 35% tariff on Canada and grants Mexico a 90-day extension, while the United States' largest trading partner now has more time to reach a trade deal. Its second largest saw its tariff increase on Thursday. President Trump on Thursday night imposed a 35% tariff on Canada, deepening his attack on a country that has long been a close American partner, but that Mr. Trump has consistently disparaged since taking office in January as having taken advantage of the United States.
Yeah, and it has been a major trading partner. Mexico and Canada are two of the largest trading partners, and they almost have equal trade with the United States. The problem is Canada has quietly abused their deal year after year. They have nickeled and dimed the United States, meaning with every negotiation they asked for tariffs to be taken down from the United States. Well, they put up more and more tariffs. So
his attacks have ruptured the relationship between the two countries, stoked an intense anti-American feeling among many Canadians, and prompted Canada to start finding ways to shift away from its once reliable economic partner and find other countries to make deals with.
Yeah, they try to make a deal with Mexico and the EU. The EU just made the largest tariff deal with the United States at 15%. The United States also made a tariff deal with Japan. So Canada, I think Trump is going to absolutely break Canada's back for effing around. They are about to find out. Mexico is in a very good position. As much as a lot of people think Trump has hard feelings on Mexico, if you look back at all their trade deals, he favors Mexico more than any other country. He really likes Mexico. He realizes it's an emerging economy. And on the last major trade deal, he tried to make a trade deal between the U.S. and Mexico and wanted to cut Canada out. Mexico was actually the one that demanded Canada be put in that trade deal. Once Canada was put in that trade deal, they tried to backdoor Mexico and cut him out of it. So Canada's absolutely crazy. Let's go. Let's keep going here.
At the same time, Mr. Trump earlier on Thursday offered a reprieve to the United States' southern neighbor and its largest trading partner, Mexico. The two countries agreed to keep talking about potential trade deal for 90 more days, averting the heavier tariffs Mr. Trump had threatened to impose on Mexico just before they were set to begin.
Okay, and the day before this trade deal was, Trump kind of came in with the 35%, said, no, we're not making a deal with Canada. Mark Carney, the Prime Minister of Canada, came out and said, we're going to recognize Palestine as a state. Trump didn't like that at all, and he came out with a statement saying it's going to be really hard to work with Canada. Whatever you think about that particular thing with Palestine and Israel, that's one thing, but why is Canada recognizing Palestine as a state? The next step is all these countries that are recognizing Palestine as a state, such as the UK and Canada, they're now going to allow all these people to have refugee status and flood Canada and flood the UK. At least that's what I believe. Would you have a great chance for a false flag attack at that point? Possibly. And that's what I'm kind of going to look out for in the future. But recognizing Palestine as a state is so they can have refugee status and start moving these people out around the world.
The news of the pause announced by Mr. Trump and President Claudia Sheinbaum of Mexico on social media came after the two leaders spoke by phone on Thursday morning. It also followed months of painstaking negotiations between the two sides that left many Mexicans apprehensive about what Mr. Trump would ultimately decide. Also because here in Mexico, there's a lot of TDS, Trump derangement syndrome.
Well, we lived in Canada. We fled Canada for Mexico. I've been a Trump supporter the whole time. It's not easy to be a Trump supporter in Canada, and it's maybe even harder to be a Trump supporter in Mexico. That being said, I've kind of stuck with them, but there are a lot of ugly things rearing their head in this administration now. The main thing being Palantir, and I am banging that drum of Palantir and especially JD Vance's connections. He has been majorly connected with Palantir ever since he got out of the military. All of his jobs since he got out of the military, all of his financing for all of his campaign came through Peter Thiel and Palantir. And this is coming from somebody that really liked JD Vance when he was first announced. I just didn't know his entire history, and I didn't know the dangers of Palantir at the time.
Okay, continuing on. Mexico has so far managed to fend off many of Mr. Trump's threats and forged, somewhat improbably, analysts say, not that improbably, a relationship of respect with him. More and more, we are getting to know and understand each other, Mr. Trump said on Thursday on social media. But Canada's efforts to achieve a deal ahead of a Friday deadline Mr. Trump had set for raising tariffs on countries across the globe failed. Instead, the tariff on the United States' second largest trading partner is now set to rise to 35% from 25%.
And most of the stuff that comes out of Canada is actually steel, aluminum, copper, raw mining goods, oil, and gas. A lot of this stuff, Trump wants to make America self-sufficient at these things because he wants to make America a powerhouse. They underpay for Canadian oil and natural gas. They pay 15% under the market rate because all the pipelines go directly to the United States, and Canada has nowhere else they can sell their oil or natural gas. That being said, I would expect a high tariff to remain on all kinds of aluminum and steel until the American manufacturing and mining industries really come up and can supply their own needs for military manufacturing and other kinds of manufacturing. I will say I'm not a big fan of Claudia Sheinbaum, the president of Mexico, but she has done a great job so far on these negotiations with Trump, especially when you compare him to Canada. And she has the most hurdles to jump over because this isn't just a tariff deal. There's organized crime to go along with this. There's the border issues to go along with this, national security issues to go along with this. The United States is trying to pump digital ID and digital currency into Mexico and set up that framework. So there are a lot of things she's having to negotiate behind the scenes. That's why you could expect the Mexican deal to take a bit longer. I would say so far she's doing a stellar job. All the rumors coming out of the Trump administration, not even from Trump primarily, but probably from 6 or 7 other people deep within the administration I watch and a lot of people don't watch. They have had nothing but good things to say on every aspect with Mexico. Mexico's not playing games. They're doing everything they can to get the best possible trade deal.
But interestingly enough, also with Canada, it says the new levies do contain exclusions, goods that meet the definition of North American products under a pre-existing trade agreement among the U.S., Canada, and Mexico will be exempt from the tariffs. RBC Economics estimates that covers about 94% of the items Canada exports.
Yeah, 94% of the items Canada exports, not the dollar amount. So the biggest industries in Canada are steel, aluminum, copper, oil, natural gas. Those aren't included in that deal. And that probably is 94% of the dollar amount, not the actual goods. So, Carney has really messed around, and I think Canada may become the 51st state if they continue this. If not Canada becoming the 51st state, at least Alberta. And if Alberta goes, the rest of Canada is going to fall like dominoes. I hate to say it, but they had their opportunity with Pierre Poilievre to really get a good deal for Canada, have good leadership, have common sense leadership with common sense policies, and they decided to elect a globalist, and now they're going to pay the price.
Decided or were made to. We still don't know.
Well, let's not be going too much into conspiracy theory here. Are there any other comments for today?
No.
Okay, thanks for everybody for tuning in today. If you haven't subscribed, please do so. We broadcast live out of Mexico City, and we're really trying to hit an English audience. YouTube really throttles us, and it's hard for us to get subscribers and get to the markets that the English channel really needs to get to. So if you could subscribe, it would help. We'll see you tonight on Nat and the Guy.
And thank you so much, Rafa, for all your comments, and everybody else that was here. We'll see you tonight.
Adios.